Good.
Now, we're good. You ready? All right, we ready.
Thank you. People call me.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's all good.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention? Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Hampton Roads Black Caucus Connection with North Oregon and Virginia Beach. Other people from other areas are here also. But we welcome you. People are still coming. They're causing traffic and accidents and everything else. But you're welcome to the food. It has been prayed over and everything. The order of the service today, and we are running a little behind, and because we was trying to give candidates time to get here. So we have different candidates that, running for different positions, Senate and the House of Delegates. One of the things about the Hampton Roads Black Caucus, we are a nonpartisan entity. We don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, as long as you support our pillars. And we hold you accountable for those pillars once you get our endorsement and you sit in that seat. And we don't see you supporting our cause, or we come to you, then we're gonna talk to you about it and find out why you're not supporting our cause. The other thing is that if we endorse a candidate, if one candidate, I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican, whoever we endorse, one candidate make a comment or put out information on another candidate, especially if we endorse you, and we're going to ask you, is it true? And produce the evidence. If you can't produce the evidence or the proof, then we reserve the right to retract our endorsement, because we want to make sure we are credible, that we're not putting candidates out they're slinging mud and calling and putting untruth information on another candidate. It's about accountability and responsibility, and that's the main thing. And the way the process works, we hire an independent consultant to come up with questions for whatever seat is open. Right now, the House of Delegates and the Senate is open. And so what happens is she will take those questions and approved by us, and then send them to the candidates. She gets your email address from the state election board. And whatever email address you gave the state election board on their website, that's what she's sending your survey. You have a certain amount of time to get that survey back. Sometime the board authorized me to extend it because everyone hasn't got their survey in. But once we lock it out, then the survey comes back to the independent consultant. So independent consultant then send it out to all our members throughout the Hampton Road. And we have over 200 members plus. And so what happens then is that they have about a week to read your response, and then they will vote on who they want us to endorse. Once they vote, it locks you out. You can't vote for one time. I only have one vote. That's it. And so if you're a member, you get to vote, and it locks you out. And so then your last opportunity to get an opportunity to meet our members and other constituents in your district would be at your Breakfast of Champions. And that will be on the 23rd. You see literature on the table. And that day, they're gonna ask, you'll see people running around asking questions, meeting and greeting you, and someone gonna look in your soul and ask you, "What's this? And what are your thoughts on this and that?" That's your last push to try to persuade them to sign off on your endorsement. And once that happens, that's it. And we may have another Caucus Connection, but once we try to get it out and the results out, a little bit after early voting. So whoever get endorsed can get that seal of endorsement, and put it on their literature on your website. We're gonna put it on our website. We're gonna try to get it into Virginia Pilot, and we're gonna pick and choose when we want it in Virginia Pilot, so we get the best bang for our buck. So you and any of our members that want to work for you, some of them will call us and say, hey, I'm in this district. We endorse that individual. How do I get in touch with them to work that poll or work their candidate? And so we'll pass your information, his or her information, on to that member. But that's how it works. Tonight, anyone can join the Hampton Roads Black Caucus. We are nonpartisan, and it's known as $50 a year annual fee. Tonight, the president's edition reduction, $25. So you can see the treasurer and make you check out the HRBC, or she'll show you how to go online and pay for it, and you'll get all kinds of little paraphernalia. You know what I mean by that: cups, T-shirts, stuff like that. Lapel pin, like I'm wearing right here, part of it, and also you get opportunity to participate in our voting process, endorsement process. And also you get a newsletter too to keep up with what we are doing and what we are doing in the community. And so this weekend, one of our candidates has donated to to the organizations that sponsor some kids going to Washington, D.C. for Stop the Violence or Reduce the Violence in our state. And they'll be at the mall. And so those kids from Norfolk and Newport News and Virginia Beach and Chesapeake would have opportunity to get there and to ride the bus up there and get a chance to speak on why the elected officials still work hard to reduce the violence in their community. Because it takes a village to raise a child, but how can you raise a child in a contaminated village? And our villages are contaminated with violence and drugs and everything else. So you guys that are running for office, I hope you can do something to assist us, because a lot of kids are being held hostage in their homes because the parents are afraid to let them go out into the community and play, because in some communities they're afraid that gunfire may erupt. So now the family is under siege in their own home, and that's how can that child live out the full potential that God has created them to be by being under siege in their own home because of violence? And so we are here to work with whoever want to work with us, because one of our pillars is creating a healthy, safer community in our community. So I am going to decrease and let these candidates increase. I just want to let you know. I want to recognize. We have a city council member of Virginia Beach here, Mayor Ross Hammond. If you can stand. Thank you. And also we have Pamela Byrne here. Will you please stand? A dear friend. If you want to know about how to deal with COVID, see Pamela back there. And also, we just thank each and every one of you for coming out here. But I'm going to decrease and let y'all increase the way to order, sir. One thing I want to remind you, this camera is on you. It's recording. She will be taking questions from Facebook Live. We are streaming it live, so people may be watching, and they may ask her a question. She may stop you and say, hey, we got a question from somebody on Facebook. We'd like you to answer. Or someone from the audience may want you to answer a question. Remember, whatever you say is being recorded, and you'll have to live up to it. So, without further ado.
Wait.
Yes.
How many minutes they got?
We're going to give them, how many candidates? I think we give them 2 minutes. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes.
Do I get 3 minutes?
Yeah, 3 minutes to talk about their platform and answer questions.
Okay.
All right. You the first one up. We going right down the list. Of course, the way you signed up. John Scott. Let me get my list so I can go down.
Yeah. Now watch my camera here. Or
The microphone not working, so you gotta speak
let me
up.
know when you're ready.
I'm ready. When you?
All right, hi, I'm John Sitka. I'm running as a candidate for the 93rd District for the House of Delegates. And some of y'all may already have known me from before when I was running for school board. Well, guess what? My vision hasn't changed. To be honest with you, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of mamas and grandmamas. And I've heard some things that kind of concern me. See, I've been here since '79. My kids went to Norview. My grandkids are now in the Norfolk Public School System. And they all share the same frustrations they have, and they're worried about their kids and their kids' future. And I'm going to talk about not just about the school violence like you think of guns. We're talking about one mama showed me on Instagram 3 channels of fights ongoing at this one high school every day. So therefore, I'm trying to think of a plan or a way to do this. So I'm going to go back into my past, and I'm going to talk about education in the sense, how about we do this? When I grew up, we had distributive ed. We worked a half a day, go to school a half a day. I want to expand that out. I talked to our folks over at the Hampton Roads Workforce Council, and they said that they have a program called Next Gen. Next Gen allows for going to jobs from ages 14 and up. What I'd like to do is expand it and create this distributive ed where they do go to work a half a day, go to school a half a day, work in profit, nonprofit, city jobs, and state jobs. If they're doing this as early as in high school, imagine doing this during the summer, and even when they finish high school with getting credit for working. How about this? That they have a high school diploma and they have a skill. And that's the area that I'm centrally focused on. And I would appreciate your vote because I have a future vision for our community that I think makes a difference. I'm John Sitka. Please go to my website, sitkafordelegate.com.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what does your district encompass?
I am the 93rd, which encompasses, let's start over towards Ward's Corner, down towards the zoo, cuts across over to Military Circle, and comes back north, Little Creek up there by a place called Larimore area. Some people in Norfolk might know that as the St. Pius Church over there.
Okay. So some people find it difficult to educate African American children. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's one of the things I understand because that's what brought this to me about the workforce. That's where this came from. And that's where this kind of ideal came from because actually I was over at Lindenwood and one grandma.
I went to Lindenwood.
You do? Okay. I was talking to grandma over there and she said, my senior son, grandson, they were not going to let him graduate because he couldn't read. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like a lot of folks, why did it take until the senior year before that happened? Mm-hmm. Folks, I don't want to focus on all the minutia. Let's focus on the courses we need. Language arts, mathematics, science, and history. And if you don't want science, fine, take an art. But the rest of the time, if school is not your thing, remember, high school may be enough for a lot of people because they're not college bound. And we want to give folks a future. I think when you ask me the question about the African American student, they want a future. They want hope. And my goal is to give them that hope. I know that helped my family. I was the oldest of 8, and I had to help feed the family that I did. So I get it.
Okay. All right. That's it.
Yes,
Yeah, no
ma'am.
question.
So you talk about the high school students, and you talk about how the person's upset because the kid gets to the 12th grade and they can't read. What are you gonna do about the little kids who you know can't read because of the gap that we have in COVID?
Right, and here's another thing. I know it's going to take time to catch up because you're in education.
No.
Okay, so one of the things is it is catching up, but it's a slow progress. One of the things I heard about, and I'm interested in getting this employed. like in the elementary school, there was a thing, like we used to call it hooked on phonics.
Yeah.
There's a phonics program where we can actually start getting the reading and writing done at an early age. But right now, they only want to take the 3rd grade. I would like to see it go beyond 5th grade and above, because reading and writing is everything. Folks, I wish I had learned how to read and write properly when I was young. I was too rebellious. But that would be my start, is to start getting them wanting to read, getting them involved in reading and writing. And like I say, to me, if it takes something as simple as phonics, find it, use it. Always look for what works. And I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, you have at least you have a solution to the problem.
I have an idea.
I have an idea how we can.
And you know something? I will also say with all frankness and honesty, I don't know everything. Now, I have a doctorate degree in education, all right? But I know because I had that education, what it made me learn, I don't know as much as I thought I did. And that's being honest with people. So I'm willing to take, if people here have ideas, they have thoughts, I'm a listener. Anybody who sat with me knows I love to listen.
I got one more question.
Please.
So how do you propose to get the teachers a raise?
Oh, I'd love to. You know, I know it's all on my website, but one of the things I did say, I want to see the pay on par with the national average. Right now, teachers' pay in Norfolk is other than Suffolk, they're the lowest. And I did, and when I was running for school board, exactly what I fought for was teachers' pay. And believe it or not, back in April, when the city was doing their budget, they had a meeting over in April at Granby High, and I spoke publicly that if you got this tax money, they spend one of the teachers unions, all we need is $5 million. We can get this raise. I'm first on it. But I'd like to see it on par with the national average.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
The next speaker is Mike Oling. Yeah. And the next one after that is Mike Kesley. Can you hear me? Hello?
You gotta speak up there.
I mean, I don't normally need one of those.
Big boy.
All right.
So my name is Nicholas Olenek. I am running as an independent for the House of Delegates 96th District. That district encompasses half of Kempsville, all of Salem, all of Lansdowne, and half of Green Run. I'm running as an independent because I think our two-party system is broken, and we should always have a third option to better suit our needs. I'm self-financing my whole campaign with just selling merch and my own money, so I do not owe any favors to the big Republican Party. Will be an individualist up there in the House, serving my constituents, not a red or a blue team. I like to tell people I am a fiscal conservative, but a social libertarian. I want to save you money on taxes, but let you be a free human being in the freest country in the world once you hit 18. Questions?
So, how do you feel about Dominion and the monopoly that they have in this area?
I feel so bad about them being a monopoly that I went on my own and I put 98 solar panels on top of my own house just to try and break away from them so I could own my own energy. I really do wish there was two different energy companies you could choose from. That way competition would improve our prices. But it's a big ask to try and get two power plants in the same area fighting over the same lines. It is really hard. But if you are tired of Dominion, I would recommend you trying to take your energy production into your own hand and maybe going some solar on your house, not wind turbines in the middle of the ocean. I think all this new green energy should be at the point of use, such as on the buildings and the homes that are going to use it. I will stand up for Dominion because I really don't want our whales dying with the offshore programs, but I would like to use some newer forms of energy, just not in the middle of the ocean. We can do solar. I'd love to see a comeback of nuclear. It is some of the actual safest power in the world, but I don't think we're ever going to get there. Dominion as a monopoly, though, it sucks, and I'd love to break them apart. But I'm only going to be the only independent up there saying it. You know, the other two parties aren't really going to bring that up. Anything else?
What does your district encompass?
Like I said, it's half of Kempsville. It's in Virginia Beach. It's half of Kempsville. It goes all of Salem, all of Lansdowne, half of Green Run. The Green Run circles into Bow Creek Golf Course is my district, along with the Farmers Market area, all the way to Elbow Road, Indian River, Lake James to Lake Christopher area.
And if elected, what are your top 3 things that you would accomplish?
Top 3 things would be to open up a dialogue about everybody's mental health. I think that is one thing nobody ever really talks about. We need to open a dialogue and make it safe and comfortable for people to talk about their mental health and for alternative therapies to be available. Right now, we're one of the largest military zones in the United States, and currently 22 vets a day plus commit suicide because they don't have the proper mental health or care. And if you don't have the proper mental health or care, you can't live up to the pursuit of happiness the Constitution actually grants you. So bringing up mental health, getting everybody the help that they ask for and they want will be number 1 priority. Alternative therapies, such as support animals, maybe cannabis uses, and things like that all need to be brought out. I really would like to direct the casino and the cannabis tax revenue that's coming in. Instead of using it as new spending, I'd like to pay off everybody's personal property tax on their cars and stuff with it. That way the money goes back and helps every Virginian. Instead of right now, the current bill going up to the House, it wants to give 30% of all tax revenues to the locality that sold it. And without it being guided to where it's going to be spent, I think that's going to end up as a huge slush fund. And I'd like, if it's here, tell me casinos are here, marijuana legalization is here, we might as well let it benefit every Virginia with paying down their current taxable needs instead of just creating new spendable accounts with it.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right. The next,
It doesn't work. That's why I put it down.
okay, the next individual, Mr. Causeway, Mike Causeway.
So I would speak into the microphone, but it's missing.
It's not working?
It's not working, so gotta use your voice.
So I'll move up a little bit since there's no sense in standing back there where you can't hear me anyhow.
You can come on down.
Come on down.
Do what you want to do. But the camera right there, remember, don't go too far.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Woo, all right.
Okay, my name is Mike Carslake. I'm from Michigan.
Back up.
We don't need to cheer for the Pistons or anything because they don't work out that well.
Uh-oh.
So I spent about 35 years there, 30-something years here, and I grew up in 4 feet of snow. I had shoes, skates, figure skates. You could have hockey skates, and I had a snowmobile. Those are the things I did. And then during the week, I went skiing because we did have a program, as John Sickett said, about half of a day skiing and half of a day in school. I said, I'm signing up for skiing. Who needs a school? Anyhow, so I believe in mentorship. One of the things I really believe in is mentorship. That can come in many forms. I owned Providence Computers for 38 years here in Chesapeake, and we have clients all over the place. I have clients from Richmond to Moyock to I don't know where, Suffolk, other places. So we fix computers, we take care of people. I will tell you that it's easier to fix a computer than it is a person. So over the spirit of time, I have had opportunities to do mentorships with different programs. Have you heard of Workforce? How many of you heard of Workforce? So I worked with the Woodrow Wilson Rehabilitative Center with Workforce for about 20 years. I've had maybe 6 or 8 interns that worked for me through that Workforce Center. Eventually, you may hire them or you may not. It's a great program because they intern with you for a while. You get a chance to look at them, they look at you, you decide if you're going to have a future together. Currently, I have a blind employee, which is a trick when you're working on computers that you need screwdrivers and all kinds of things to work inside the computer. We literally have a blind employee through the Department of Blind and Rehabilitation that we have here in Virginia. So we're working with that young gentleman a few hours a week, and we mentor him. We actually have to shadow him. He literally can't see. Mm-hmm. But this guy comes to us, the happiest look on his face because nobody else has ever taken a minute to let him work in life. And he's like 17, he's about 18. So it's wonderful for us to be able to participate with somebody like that, give him a chance to work and something to do. So we've done a couple of other programs like that. A few years ago, I did VOTEC with Virginia Beach Schools. I had a student or two that did VOTEC, have some of his little certificates I hung on the wall that said I was a great VOTEC guy. So we've been in business for a long time. One of the things I've learned, well, I've learned lots of things over the years, okay. But politically speaking, when I go to Richmond, I would like to work for you, my constituents, which Nicholas explained that our district runs from Centerville Turnpike and Tallwood High School to Green Run. It's in the southern part of Virginia Beach. It's below Farrell Parkway, and it stops at Elbow Road. And so if you're in Stumpy Lakes, you're probably out of my district. Anyhow, it's a swath of land. It's kind of new this year. 96 just got invented. But I want to work with the schools in that area to provide more things like Workforce, like ways to mentor those young people. We got, I don't know, thousands of young people in our area. We have 58,000 voters in the 96th district. We've got ways that we need to work with schools.
Yes. You're out of time.
Right? Am I? Okay.
One
more thing before I stop, and that is I am against bullying. I want to know what we can do to get bullying out of the schools. And I know it's tricky with discipline and everything is a trick today, but that's one of my goals because when the bully is work in the classroom stops. So that would be one of my goals. So,
all right. So what are you running for again?
96th District, General Assembly.
Okay. General
Virginia
Assembly.
Beach.
Virginia Beach.
Yes.
Okay. So tell us about what are your top 2-3 things other than vocation, stopping bullying. What's number 3?
Another top thing would be energy.
Energy.
Lowering the cost of your energy bills.
Oh, that's right up my alley.
I mean, we can say we don't like Dominion. That really doesn't matter. Dominion is it.
That's it. That's
so
all.
If it's it, what do we do to get along with Dominion and get Dominion to give us benefits? So let's work on that side of the aisle. I mean, I know they're doing wind and solar, which statistically, by the way, is less than 1% of your energy comes from wind and solar. It's something that's kind of they're going along towards. But right now, you get your energy from nuclear power, fossil fuels, hydroelectric, and normal ways of energy. So,
do you know that when I look at my bill, there's $2 set aside for their so-called green initiatives? So if every person that has Dominion pays $2, how do you feel about all that?
I don't know what the $2 goes for, but to me, green means wind and solar and alternative fuels. In other words, they're trying to look into the future and say, can we do to build energy out of platforms that are renewable, which would be green. So I think the $2 goes there, but I haven't studied the bill. What I noticed on the bill is about a third of it's taxes. Mm-hmm. And so taxes and fees would be what I would be looking at. it's a way more than $2 in your Dominion bill.
Yes,
Yes,
that
a
too.
lot more than $2.
What is your take on gun violence, and how would you propose to not get a handle on it, so to speak, if that's possible? Gun violence.
Oh, gun violence. Okay.
Yes.
So gun violence is one of the ways of violence. We need to know where is the spirit of violence coming from? There are more guns than you can count in this country. So if somebody wants to do violence, they're going to go find a gun somewhere. We can turn in guns. We can limit guns. I'm a gun owner myself. I think we need to figure out where violence is. Where's the violent spirit coming from?
So most say it's
I see that's not making you happy, but go ahead.
Do you believe that a normal person needs to have a semi-automatic weapon in their possession?
No.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean about
Yeah,
violence.
no, they don't need
Yeah,
something.
we all have violence, and we have violence. But I think it's more when you have a semi-automatic weapon in your possession that the violence is a little bit more, to me, trickier, so to speak.
It can go a lot faster.
But on the flip side, people should be allowed to, if they're gun enthusiasts and they aren't presenting any harm, and it's part of their collections that they collect, why can't they have
Yes,
a
right in my
semi-auto?
wallet, I have a concealed weapon carry permit, so I can carry a weapon concealed, and I believe that that's a normal American right that we have right now. But it should be controlled. There
Yes,
should
it
be a
should.
way to figure out who gets that privilege, which we do have ways to do that. But anyway, go ahead. What's next?
All right. That's it. Well, thank you. Anybody else got any more questions? Thank you. Uh-oh. Yeah.
Did you name the person on the Giordano?
Who? Oh,
Giordano.
Gio. But the camera right there. Look at the camera.
Do I start now?
Yeah.
How's everyone doing? My name is Giovanni Domo. I'm running for the 21st District in Norfolk. If you're tired of the violence in Norfolk, vote for me. If you want black families to thrive, vote for me. If you want fathers involved in these black families, vote for me. If you want education to rise and graduation rates to go up, then vote for me, because that's what I'm thriving for. That's my biggest focus. I know there's a lot of issues going on in Virginia right now, but that's my focus is families right now. So let me give you a little quick synopsis of what happened. I didn't see my kids for 5 years, and it took me 8 years to get custody of them because of the way the laws are organized. So I had to study the law, figure things out just to see my children. So now I'm focusing, fighting, right? I can't complain about it. I want to be centered to change those laws so other fathers won't have to go through what I went through. It's been a tough ride, and when I look at my neighborhood, I live in the ghetto. All those kids there have no dads. And a lot of fathers give up, and I understand why. So that's the reason why I'm running for senator. Any questions?
What would be your solution to putting fathers back in the home?
My solution to putting fathers back in the home is stop the laws that are putting hostility between parents, especially when it comes to money. There's a lot of fathers going to jail right now. The court seems to lean towards one parent, even though they're not supposed to. But because we're ignorant to the law, and that was my issue, they took my kids from me, gave it to the mom. I want to change those laws to make it even right off the bat. Especially I was a married man, and I saw my kids every day. And one day I woke up and I couldn't see them every day. That's just not fair.
How do you plan to help black families thrive who father may not pass and there's just a single mom?
Well, that's a different situation. When the father passed away, I have a friend right now who her son's father passed away, and we have a church family that helps her. I would lean more towards a church family, because if you don't have a church family, because our blood family sometimes doesn't work out, but we have a church family that helps her. That's something that no law can help. You just gotta have people that can help you there.
All right. So what district are you in?
21st District in Norfolk, Virginia.
Whatever.
It's most of Norfolk. The only portion it's not is Ocean View area. East Ocean View area, Little Creek and up, that's the only portion that can't vote for me. Everybody else can. Any more questions?
Yes. So
Go ahead.
Norfolk has a affordable housing issue.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on how to solve that?
So I support affordable housing. You know, the issue is there's too many people going to affordable housing. I was actually confused when I first heard about it. I thought it meant like give you money for a real home. I didn't know it was Section 8 and all these other or lower income or, you know, it's a big issue right now. What I'm trying to do right now with that situation is see if we can help the Black community understand how it works and what would be better for them, especially if they can just get on their own 2 feet and get their own homes and their own apartments with the money they can have. And that again goes back to having families together, having fathers there to teach these kids how to be on their own, how to work for what they want. So,
Yeah.
So you spoke about education, bringing them up to, I guess, to a standard where they need to be as far as education. How do you plan to do that with the fact that there's not enough teachers and there's not enough funding in Norfolk for things to happen? Like I know that there's a lot of schools that don't have like a music program, and I personally think that music arts are very important in school because it kind of gives the kid like another avenue from, you know, after reading and writing, so they need that music and that chorus and that whatever to kind of, you know, elevate them. So what do you?
So statistics do show that when you have both parents involved in the house, the kids do thrive. Ever since I've been involved in my kids' lives, my son's grades have went up, my daughter's grades have went up. My son went from failing 6th grade, and I had to help him, to now being a B honorable student. You know, so it has to be that both parents are involved. You can't leave it all to the school. You can't leave it all to the teachers. So the numbers are there. Statistics are there. That's why I'm thriving and pushing forward for families to be united in the state of Virginia.
Well, that sounds real cute, but
What do you think about the casino? I'm sorry.
we're not finished.
That wasn't my question. My question was how, I mean, the school, how you, I mean, Norfolk is lacking teachers and they're lacking a lot of other things. The family thing, I get that, but I'm talking about in the school, the lack of funding, the schools are run down and et cetera. How do you plan to?
And you don't always have a choice of whether the father or the mother. One could be missing.
Right now, there's a school, the schools in my area, right? The schools in my area where I live out in Norfolk are failing. And it's not because of funding. It's not because right now, especially, it's not lack of teachers. It's because the kids are not going to school. They're not learning. They're out in the street, you know, and I live in there and I watch it happen. So that's why I'm focused on that, because the money's there. The federal funds are there. You know, the teachers are there currently now, but it's just that the kids are just not being focused because they have too much going on outside of the school. And this is for me speaking to the principals, speaking to the teachers, because I had to get on my children just to keep their grades up when everybody else is failing. So I understand that people see it from the schools going through things, the schools not getting money. That's not necessarily true. And a lot of those programs that the schools have, they take them away because the students are not there. If you don't have enough students in those programs, they take the programs away and the funding goes down. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So once again, it's not always the school, it's not always the parents, it's a community of things. So how do you fix that? Because that's what we need. We need people to fix not just the school, the kids, and everything. Because Norfolk itself needs love from everything. I mean, you gotta love the teachers, you gotta love the family in order for these kids to feel safe in their environment to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know, how do you plan to try to get Norfolk as a whole to see the importance of not just family but schooling and everything? How do you plan to do that?
Well, that's a tough load to put on. You know, honestly, if I get voted in, for example, you know, it has to be me. It has to be me and everyone in the Senate, everyone in the House, including the governor. You know, we all have to come together and figure that out. It won't just take me, but I'm willing to be open and minded to see what we can do.
What are you gonna I mean, when you have the floor, like you have the floor right now, what would you tell us is the plan? Say we all gonna vote for you. If we all work for you, what are you gonna tell us? How are we gonna fix this? Like, we work for you. What are you gonna tell us? What's your plan?
So again, my focus is family first. You know, I can only be honest. That's my focus. I can't solve something I know nothing about. especially, in that area about, financing schools and stuff like that, and those big issues. I don't have any experience in that. I have experience in family homes and the laws that are failing our families.
Okay.
Somebody else?
She had a casino question.
So so the governor was here, last week, and you're speaking to what he's talking about, parents matter. So you're speaking to that. The governor really believes that it's the parents need to get more and more engaged in their schools and how the training. He doesn't. I got from what he was saying, like what you're speaking of. You're speaking the same language.
Well, I'm not.
What's your question?
I don't know anything about.
No, I'm just saying. But you being
What's
in
your
Norfolk,
Yes.
do you think the casino is going to help what she's talking about with the funding and all that? What do you think about that?
So this is my thing, right? You can't throw money at everything.
Okay.
Money's not going to solve the issues. I'm seeing kids walk around in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock in the morning, 13, 12 years old. What money are you going to put in there to help that? I saw a pregnant woman smoking marijuana and passing it out to 11 and 12-year-olds. What money are you going to put in to help that? I'm seeing people getting shot around the corner from me. What money are you going to put in to help that?
You can't
We've
police.
done policing. We've done all that. It's not working. I live in these areas. You have to fix what's going on home first, and then we'll fix the rest.
But here's my question. I'm sorry. So I'm with you. You can't police things to death. You can't throw money to death. But here's the thing: most children, they're lacking something, and that's why they're out there. They're hungry. There's something going on. Something's missing. And when you say I believe in families, that's cute and all. But sometimes there's no choice. You're either going to have a mother or a father. So what happens when you just have one, and that mother or that father has to work so that they can give their child the things that they don't have?
So right now, there is a big issue with single parenting, and that's the big issue that I'm trying to fight for. What a lot of people don't understand is why these women are single parents, and it starts with when they go to court and they separate the parents. One parent becomes a custodial, what they call a custodial parent, and the other one becomes a non-custodial parent. And one of those parents gets to see that child more than the other. But because a lot of people don't see what functions in that from that non-custodial parent, they don't understand how it hurts the child. No one's focusing on this. Everyone sees the results of it, which is all these kids being chaotic, failing schools, but no one wants to go solve the big issue, which is separating these parents and keeping one parent away from these kids. And that's what I'm trying to solve.
Well, how would you solve it?
It's a domino effect. Once you get both parents involved, statistics show that when both parents involved, kids just strive and do better.
But how are you going to get both parents involved?
By changing the laws that separate parents from their children.
Specifically what law?
When there's a non-custodial and a custodial parent, why can't parents both have physical custody of their children? Instead of just one parent having most time with the child. You see? Why pay child support and you can't even see your child? What fairness is that? So a lot of those different areas in the laws that people don't look at that keep kids, and it's damaging, especially the Black community.
Okay. Anybody questions? Any more?
To me, what you're sounding like when you say fix the family, you're trying to help fix the family. What we have wraparound services that go into the family home, and they offer parenting, mental health services, a social worker, a psychologist, and we're involved in every aspect of that family's life. To reduce recidivism rates, juvenile delinquency, with that program, you increase the rates of attendance, academics, and not necessarily are both parents in the home, but because those services are there in the home, you have a lot of positive outcomes.
That could be true. We have those programs here. I know a few people that actually work with kids in their home. I forget what they call them, but that's still not helping because it's still big failures, and the kids at the end of the day want to see the other parent, and that's not happening.
So sometimes there are instances where it might be in the best interest for the kid to have a parent removed, such as possibly abuse
Correct.
or drug abuse, or maybe one of the parents chose themselves to leave the household. So what solutions would you have to support a single family household or a
Correct.
single parent household?
So those are the issues that no law can fix, right? Of course, if you have abuse and stuff, there's laws that fix that. People get arrested, separate. But what I'm driving for is for fathers like me who wanted to be there and got separated from my kids. 5 years of not seeing my kids was not fair to me. I didn't harass nobody, I didn't abuse nobody, I didn't kill nobody. They were taken from me due to the laws that are here now.
But you do understand that it's not just people with your, you've got to represent us too, the single parents.
Correct. If you include the other parent, it helps the single
You
parent.
keep saying include the other parent, but what if the other parent is dead? What if the other parent does not want to be
listen, let me make
involved? What is
myself
the
clear.
other?
I'm speaking of two parents still alive.
Okay, but you got to speak towards people who don't have the luxury of that scenario of having a second parent.
If a parent is dead or a parent's not, what law can you write to help them?
Exactly. So what would you do to help the child that's in a home with only one parent thrive?
There's already programs for that. There's people who are single parents right now who are getting in programs and resources that help them. My goal in there as a state senator is to help the children have two parents, and then you could get together to help the
All
child.
right.
It's very simple.
Those programs aren't all right. Thank you.
Yeah, but
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Oh, anybody else question? All right. Thank you. Thank you. Is he talking? Who next?
All right.
The next one is Mr. Pittman.
All right, Andy Pitty. Welcome to the hot zone. Come on. We ready.
Where should I stand?
Camera right there, wherever you want to be.
This good?
Yeah, I can see you.
All right. Well, good evening. My name is Andy Pittman. I'm running for the House of Delegates in District 94 in Norfolk. Because of redistricting, it's an open seat. For those of you who may remember, it used to basically be the district Selma Drake had when she was a delegate before she went to Congress. Once she went to Congress, it got divided up 6 ways to Sunday. It's currently represented by 5 different delegates. For the first time in 20 years, it's been put wholly back together into one district in Norfolk. We have a chance for a true Norfolk delegate to represent us in the State House of Richmond. So I'm running. I'm a lifelong Norfolk resident, Norfolk native. So is my wife. We live in the heart of Ocean View with my 2 young children. I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And they're a big part of the reasons why I'm running for office. I want to help restore common sense to Richmond so my children can grow up in the same vibrant America in Virginia that we did and have the chance to reach for the American dream. I've been a member of the Hampton Roads Black Caucus for a couple of years, or at least over a year. I strongly support the 4 pillars of minority business growth, educational advancement, economic development, and community development. And those are some of our themes in our campaign. We want to restore common sense to Richmond, especially in the areas of crime and public safety. Right now in Norfolk, we have a deficit. We're short in our police force of over 1/3 of the active duty roster. And we're feeling the effects of that in Norfolk. Property crime is going through the roof. People no longer feel safe in their neighborhoods. They're sick and tired of going to bed at night, putting their heads on their pillow, wondering if they're going to wake up at 3 a.m. to the sound of gunshots, wondering if they're going to wake up in the middle of the night or wake up in the morning and realize that their catalytic converter has been stolen from underneath their car and they're hit with a $1,500 bill. So and it's affecting our business owners. It's affecting our minority business owners or business owners of color. I spoke to a lady who runs a shop yesterday, and she described the multiple incidents of crime she's had in just the last few months. Another business owner in the heart of Ocean View, minority business, and he had several major incidents of crime just in the last 6 months, including an attempt assault where somebody picked up a hammer and was swinging at his head, and luckily he was able to evade it. So we need to restore common sense to the public safety specter and make our people feel safe again, because you can't learn, you can't thrive, you can't compete economically if you're not safe in your home and business. So we need to make our businesses and streets safe again. Economic development, we need to restore common sense. We need to restore common sense to the tax code. So right now in Virginia, our business tax rate is 6%. In North Carolina, it's only 2.5%. So what that means is if you live in Norfolk and you own a small business, and small businesses are the backbone of our economy, they provide over 90% of our jobs. But you could get in your car and drive south 30 minutes and your tax rate is cut by more than half. So that gives Northern Virginia, doesn't affect them so much because they have an advantage. The northern states nearby have higher tax rates. But down here in Norfolk and Hampton Roads, we're at a major disadvantage competing against North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida. It's like a giant sucking sound or whooshing sound where jobs are just going past our community. So we need to lower the tax rate and bring back better paying jobs to Norfolk and Hampton Roads. And I see that I'm out of time. So.
All right. So you say we got to bring back common sense and make things safe. So what is your idea of how to make it safe?
Well, we need to enforce the laws that are on the books right now. In Norfolk, we're having a serious problem with that. The one business owner I mentioned, he talked about how the incident where he was fixing a bike. He owns a bike shop, and he told me, he's like, Andy, I made a mistake. I left my hammer on the counter next to the public. He was so focused on repairing the bike, he didn't notice a gentleman come into the shop, and he's working, and he hears like a scrape on the counter, and he looks up and there's the head of a hammer this close to his forehead. He ducks away. His wife comes in. He struggles with the assailant, ends up on the floor. His wife chases the gentleman out, pins him against the building, calls the police. He gets away from her. The police show up, and then when they're interviewed, the suspect comes back, sits in a stoop across the street. They see him, identify him. The police go interview the suspect, and then this couple, they told me after the police were done, they felt like they had done something wrong. The police encouraged them to let the gentleman go, not press charges. They had another incident where somebody purchased a bicycle with a forged check. And they had a security camera. They got the identity of the person. They put it on Facebook. They said, hey, has anybody had a problem with this person cashing stolen checks? People responded even with pictures of a mugshot of the individual. So they got all that, put it together, took it to the police department. The police department declined to do anything about it because the prosecutor in Norfolk won't prosecute anything below the $2,500 threshold. So they felt victimized in their business. So I think first and foremost, we need to return to common sense. We need to enforce the laws that are on the books, apply them equally and fairly to everyone. Because right now there are folks in Norfolk that are realizing, especially property crime, the laws aren't being enforced. It's becoming more bold and more brazen, and it's escalating day by day, week by week.
Okay. So, again, Norfolk has an affordable housing problem. What are your thoughts on how to work with that?
I like to call it workforce housing, not affordable housing. We need a stronger economy. Like I said, when I talked about the corporate tax cut, we need to bring better paying jobs. The best welfare program is a job, so people can support themselves and support their families. So we need to improve the economy so people aren't as reliant on affordable housing. At the same time, we need better workforce housing. We need to make sure it's safe. Because again, if you're not safe in your own home, you're not going to be able to sustain your family. You're not going to learn if you're a student. You're not going to be able to go out and get a job.
Okay. Anybody? Oh, there we go.
What are your platforms you have on your flyers that you say support veterans? And what is your plan for that?
Well, veterans are a vital part of our community. I mean, when you think about the military and the veterans in Norfolk and Hampton Roads, it's not just the ships, the airplanes, the helicopters. It's, there are softball coaches, there are community leaders, members of our civic league, parents of our neighbors' kids. And so we really value them. I really support the efforts the General Assembly had in not taxing veteran retirement pay. I think that's a big incentive to get more veterans to stay here. We also need more what I call job transitional training to help people as they get out of the military transition into the workforce, so they can get a good paying job here and stay in Norfolk and become active members of our community.
Any more questions? All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Audrey. Oh, who next?
Our next speaker is from Senate. Ms. Craig is the next speaker. And then after Ms. Craig, it would be our delegate Ann Taylor.
There's a camera right there. So, all right.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us tonight. My name is Christina Craig. I'm running in the Senate District 19. A little bit about myself. I have 36 years of public service. I started in law enforcement in Chesapeake in 1987. I served 16 years in the Sheriff's Department as well as a Chesapeake police officer. I went through the academy. After that, I served 23 years with the current delegate, Senator John Cosgrove. I've been his chief of staff up in Richmond for 23 of those years, 22 years up in Richmond, where I worked with 6 governors and staff, making sure that we support and we serve all the constituents of our district. That is so important to us. We're elected as a Republican or a Democrat, but at the end of the day, I serve everyone, and that's my job. That's what I did with 12 years of school board. I served in Chesapeake in 2010. I was reelected in 14, and I was reelected again in 18. I served as the chairwoman and vice chair. And our job is to educate all of our children and support our children. And Chesapeake, I will say, we got our kids back in school first. And that was so important because I don't know if you know, kids needed to be back in school. They needed structure. Parents needed to work. And a lot of parents had to leave their children at home. For about 8 weeks after we shut down the school, I worked with Miss Buffalo, and we worked every day, and we made sure we made 200 and 300 lunches to serve the kids because they weren't going to school and they weren't getting fed, and parents had to work and leave their kids unattended. We had to keep supporting our children and taking care of them. So that's very important to me. My family is a lifelong resident of Chesapeake. My mother served for 40 years as the deputy director of Chesapeake Social Services. So I grew up in a family where my mother said, we all take care of everybody. We all work together and we all serve everyone. So I was very fortunate to have a family that service before self. And that's where I got started on wanting to do something for the community, give back to the community. And that's why I went into law enforcement and then served on the school board. Right now I'm running in the 19th district because I want to represent everybody in that district. It's my job to get elected and to represent you. I am asking you to hire me for this job. It's not my job. It's you are my boss, and I take that very seriously. Again, I've been up there 23 years, so I know how to get the job done. I'm very versed on all of the procedures up in Richmond. So on day one, I can get the job done. I've got the experience. So I'm just honored and thankful to be here tonight, and I would love to have questions.
Okay. All right. So tell me the top 3 things that you would accomplish if you were elected.
The first thing, and I was very disappointed and my boss was one of the patrons, was the tax-free holiday and the Energy Star holiday that was supposed to happen first week of August. That's so important. My daughter has 6 kids. She struggles. She lives in Norfolk. She could not afford all the school supplies. I usually help her buying things, and we didn't have it this year because, unfortunately, it slipped through the cracks. So parents weren't able to have that tax-free holiday for supplies and clothes and computers. So that was going to be one of my first bills. It still may be, but they were fortunate enough to put it back in the budget this year. And I don't know if you know, but the tax-free holiday now is going to be October 20th through the 22nd. It's a little late, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
You know, it's something. It's still not good enough. I'm very angry at myself for letting that slide. And I wasn't the senator then, but you know, it's so important to families. So that would be one of the bills I would put in if we need to put that bill back in, because it's so important for us to give that back to the community. Second thing, again, law enforcement. My son's a firefighter. I served 16 years. My husband back there is 31 years, retired. So people running into danger when we're running out is very important. We have to support our law enforcement, our firefighters, and give them the tools and give them the resources. so that they can protect and serve us. Because again, like some other people said, you've got to be safe in your community. You can't get an education if you're not safe in your school environment. You can't thrive if you're not safe in your home environment. So that is one of the top things I would be doing. Also, small businesses. My grandfather was a small business owner in Suffolk, Virginia, and the small businesses are the backbone of our country. And I want to support all the small businesses and our economy. Our economy is in bad shape, and we need to support small businesses. We don't need them closing. We need to support them because guess what? They have families. They have bills to pay. And so Walmarts and all, they still thrive. But the small businesses are hurting. And we've had a lot of small businesses in my district close because they couldn't put through the COVID times. And so I want to give them as much support as I can to get them back up and running and thriving and supporting themselves. And then veterans. My son-in-law is a veteran in the Coast Guard. My nephew is in the Navy. My father served in the Army. My daughter served in the Army, and she was over in Germany. Supporting our veterans. In Virginia Beach, we have about 56,000 veterans. In Chesapeake, about 27,000. So we are a veteran area in the 19th district. So I want to do everything I can to support them. And then education. We have a great education system, but it's not perfect. And until we are able to educate all of our children and educate them equally and in a safe environment, I will always work for that. And again, our SROs in Chesapeake are going to be in every school. So we're going to have an SRO in every school in the city of Chesapeake. And that's important.
So you mentioned veterans.
Mhm.
As a retired Navy person,
Thank
yeah,
you.
go Navy.
Beat Army.
They have started a community care. So like if the veterans hospital, you can't get an appointment till whenever, you can go to urgent care or something like that. But even though you go there, you don't pay for the urgent care, but you have to pay for the medicine.
Which is almost as much as
So,
everything else.
I mean, you get a discount maybe, but you still have to pay for that medicine. Then you have to take that bill to the VA and hope that they get to you and pay you back. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I will tell you, our VA is not perfect, and I feel calls all the time with people that can't get in there, that are not getting the proper service. So I would support anything that we can do outside of the VA. If the VA is not working, let's think outside the box, and let's medicine right now. I just got a small bottle of eye drops, $135, and I have insurance. It was $500, and I have a retina issue. I about choked on myself when I found out that I had to pay $135, but I have to have it. It's a shame that we're making life medicines that are life-saving medicines, and we can't afford it. And this is absurd. And so I would do anything I could, especially with our veterans, because they have a soft spot in me because you fought for our country, and I thank you. But I would do anything I could to try to make it easy. In the budget, we have some great things coming down with our veterans. In about 7 days, the governor's going to sign that budget, and we'll be able to give more information about that. But I think it's definitely a veterans-friendly budget.
And how do you feel about moving our tax-free holiday back to August? Because October is a little late. They already in school.
The only reason why we had to do it this year is because it died. It didn't get put into the General Assembly into legislation this year. It slipped through the cracks. So they put it in the budget real quick, but because August has already passed, they said let's do October 20 through the 22nd. It will definitely go back to the first week of August. It's not going to do that much. It's something, but no, it needs to be before school starts. So I will definitely fight for that, and I think we will move it back. Definitely. Yes, ma'am.
To speak of SROs in the state of Chesapeake as a form of safety measure, what other safety measures do you plan to employ besides SROs, like mental health services, things of that nature?
Well, I can speak from Chesapeake because I served on the school board for 12 and a half years. And we have so many safety measures. We're very fortunate that back when the budgets were getting cut in 2009 and 10, we didn't lay off any teachers or anything. We did it through attrition. But we also kept our support staff, which was security officers, because, again, we put security as a top priority for our kids and our staff. So we have a mechanism that when you come into Chesapeake Public School, I don't know if you've ever been there, you have to have your ID, and they scan it to make sure you're not a sex offender and things like that. They check that. We also now have the double doors to get in. We have SROs in there. But we also have started training our guidance counselors with extra training on mental health. Because I will tell you, since COVID, we saw more mental health issues than I've ever saw in my life. I think I got PTSD from that because it was so sad that these kids were hurting, and we have to protect them. So we're giving our guidance counselors some extra training so they can recognize those things, and educating parents too, and teachers and gym teachers and just regular staff, janitors. You wouldn't believe everybody that comes in contact with a child. They see different things in children. They can pick up on it. So our job is we should be educating every staff inside that school what signs to pick up for mental health. I was under Mark Early, when I was in law enforcement, I was a mentor in Crestwood Intermediate. And so I had a little girl that I would have lunch with once a month. And we would sit at a special table, and I brought her lunch. And one day she kept wearing a long sleeve shirt. And I said, "Oh, it's so hot outside. Why don't you take off your jacket?" She said, "No." I said, "Okay." She said, "This is the first time I've ever heard of it." She said, "If I tell you something, you promise not to tell." And I said, "Well, I'm in law enforcement, so it depends. I mean, your safety is what's important to me." She said, "Well, let's pinky swear." I'd never heard of pinky swear in my whole life, and so we pinky swear, and she took off her jacket, and she had cigarette burns all over her body from her mother's boyfriend. And I was like, "Okay, this is not normal. You shouldn't have to deal with this. We got to get you some help." And we took her down to the principal's office, and she got the help she needed. But I was so fortunate that she felt safe to tell me. She said this had been going on for years. And so I felt honored and blessed that she trusted me. And that's what these children need. They need somebody that they can trust, that they can talk to, and get help. And so she got the help she needed. And, you know, it all ended up very well. And so that's what I would do, just educate as many people on the issues.
What about having licensed professional therapists within the school? Who can
Um,
identify more than what guidance counselor can or other staff?
That is a wonderful idea. I'm going to be honest with you, everything costs money. And so we have to prioritize stuff up in Richmond. It may not be in every school. Maybe we could look at doing one for each little, like Hickory Middle, Hickory High, and Hickory Elementary share one, and things like that. We could look at information like that. But at the end of the day, everything has a price tag. It's sad to say, but we do have to look for funding because we don't want to not support our teachers and our staff that are already in place. But it definitely, we're going to have to start looking at that. There is a lot of mental health budget items in the budget that is going to come down the pipeline once the governor signs it. And I think we're heading in the right direction on that. Oh, yeah.
A lot of depressed kids in these schools, and it takes away from their learning with these prompts, choosing the prompts going on while they're in the school setting.
Absolutely.
So my question is, the Virginia lottery started out as for education.
Mm-hmm.
So where is the money going now? Because I see the lottery is always growing and growing, but I don't see anything happening for the education. Like she said, the example of having licensed professionals within the schools, not one person, not one person trying to do 3 schools that probably consists of over 1,000 kids. Because what you do that, it's like having a social worker take care of, one social worker take care of, 21st Street, something like that. It's overstressing her or him, meaning that they're gonna miss something because they're overstressed, they're overworked. So where's that money going to, and if you know where it's going to, how can we redirect it to go back to what they originally promised that it would go to?
That is a great question. When I was on school board, I asked that very question. So back in '84, we voted for the referendum for the lottery. And then I'm going to break it down like for Chesapeake, since I know the numbers. We would get a certain amount of money from federal, certain state, certain amount of lottery money, and then locality money. Several years ago, probably 10 or 15 years ago, they put the lottery money into the general fund.
Mm.
So how do we get it back?
Well, hold on. I'm going to tell you, it's interesting. I want to be able to explain to you so you can understand, because that's something that I would support lobbying for. So now we get federal, state, and locality. So the money now is just in the lump sum of the general fund. So Chesapeake used to get 11 million. Well, and we say we got 35 million. So 35 plus 11. Well, now we just get, a small amount over that 11 million. So we're not getting that 11 million anymore. And so I argued with the lottery people saying, well, how is it then the money is going to education? Because that's what everybody voted for. Everybody voted for the money to be 100% education, not to be diverted anywhere else. It would take a General Assembly to say, hey, we want that redirected.
Would you be willing?
Absolutely, I would, because I was very upset when I found out it wasn't in our school system. So I would look at that, yes, but that's what it's going to take. It was redirected. It can be redirected again. The great thing about Virginia is we always have an election. So every 2 years, the House of Delegates, has an election, and every 4 the Senate. So what happens 2 years could be undone and changed in 2 more years and in 4 years. So we can always look at doing things like that. But the lottery money does go directly now into the general fund.
I know you say when we say we, because if we're gonna vote for you, you're gonna be our we. So would you be willing to?
I would research that and look into that. Absolutely. Yes, I would. And when you do legislation, I would talk to lottery. To do it right, I have to speak to the lottery, find out all the particulars, speak to the Department of Finance and things like that, education. I would probably talk to our superintendent in Chesapeake to find out the breakdown, talk to Virginia Beach, find out the breakdown, that's my district, and see how we can work it in and see what we can do. At any time, we can always do better.
Yes.
At any time. So I would try to do better. I can't promise 100% because I'm one person. It takes 50 plus 1, but I would definitely research it and look into it. And I'll give you my card and we can keep in touch with each other on that.
I have a question. Because you was on the school board. So like most of the time school boards vote for a budget and you give teachers a raises. But it seems like the janitorial people don't seem to get very much when y'all vote on that school board budget.
Well, let me tell you what
Why
Chesapeake
is
did
that?
this year.
Oh, this year.
Chesapeake gave the biggest, or last year, Chesapeake gave the largest raise for teachers. It was a little over 10%. Our support staff, janitorials, got 14%.
Okay.
So what we did was we looked at who needed it the most and where the monies were. So, and our administration got, I think, 5 or 7%. So they got less. So we looked at it that way. Bus drivers or support staff, so they got like 14%. Regular teachers got a little over 10%. So that's what we need to do. Because let me just tell you something. That school does not run by itself. It takes a village and it takes everyone 100% to make that school a home for our kids while they're there.
Oh. What? Anybody got any more?
I just have one, I guess because I'm from New York, whatever happened to the movable metal detectors? Like, if there's a suspected of a weapon in the school, they would just bring these metal detectors in and they would be placed in different areas. I go to Oscar Smith every year. I go there just with the CTE teacher, and you're right, there's the double doors and I have to, whatever. But what others, like you said, and they lock, the teachers lock themselves in when they're teaching, but they're so vulnerable when the different periods the bell rings, they're asked to stand out, which I get it. They're asked to stand out in front of their door and engage the students. There's some vulnerability there.
We looked at, all the football games have the metal detectors that go through. We
So
looked
it's
at,
only on events.
yeah, we looked at them, putting them in schools, and like we have a high school with 2,400 kids. When we studied it, it would take 2 to 3 hours to get every child through that metal detector for class. I mean, they would have to be lined up all the way outside, so if it's raining or cold, there would be shelter. It's unfortunate. That's something that it's just not, it's not the right thing to do at this time. That's why we did have the SROs in every school this year. We had the double doors. We had the lockdown where you have to put your ID in. Even as a school board member, I had to show my ID and do the same steps that a mom or a grandparent would have to do going into the schools.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
All right. Welcome to the stage. Come on to the hot spot. Let's keep it like that.
Right here.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Ann Farrell Tata, and I have a double first name. Ann Farrell is on my first name. I have I'm just on the tail end of my very first term. I've served my first term in the House of Delegates. I have District 82 right now. It's with the redistricting of District 99. I took Jason Miara's seat when he stepped down to run for Attorney General. And my husband and I have lived in this area for over 30 years. My father-in-law, Bob Tata, some of you may remember him. He was 30 years in the General Assembly in the 85th District, which now is kind of carved up. And my husband and I have raised our 4 children here. All 4 of them have left the area, and 3 of them are married, and 2 of the 3 have children. So I'm now a grandmother. And I have, I say all the time, I am not a politician. I really, truly am a public servant. I felt very called to run for office, and it has been an incredible blessing for me to serve. I had a number of legislation passed. My sweet spot is foster care. I care very deeply about the foster care system and worked very hard. My first 2 bills when I got to the General Assembly were in the foster care space. Also human trafficking, because honestly, it's related. Foster care and it's related to human trafficking. I care deeply about that. I had some great legislation for that last year. And then the military. My father was a Army chaplain, so I grew up in the military. So there's Army. I'm married to a career Navy officer.
Go Navy.
Who I know my brother-in-law was career Army also. He was Army general. My husband Navy, and my son-in-law is currently serving. He's a Navy pilot. So military is very important to me, and obviously this community. And then the other sort of sweet spot I have is the city of Virginia Beach. I've carried a number of pieces of legislation for the city of Virginia Beach. I'm proud and happy to do that. We just, as you know, we just went up yesterday for our budget amendments, and it passed. I'm happy to say both houses, and the House and the Senate. And we now have to wait for the governor to sign. That should be another 7 days. I'm hopeful that everything is going to come through. It's great news for us. Our governor really cares about his constituencies. He cares about the Commonwealth of Virginia. He's done amazing things for our Commonwealth. And there's over $1 billion of tax relief for families. Christy mentions that the pay raises for teachers, a lot in the area of education. And I know mental health was mentioned earlier, a large sum of money for mental health, and some really exciting money and funding for some projects here in Virginia Beach. So I'll be, when it's all official, I'll be telling people more about that. But that's kind of in a nutshell. I am running for re-election. My district goes from 17th Street to Lesnar Bridge, and then up towards the Central Library. There's a few little carve-outs going up that way, but I will, currently I serve 80,000 people, but with the new district, I'll be serving 85,000. So it's just a real honor to serve. I as Chrissy said, I work for you. I never forget that. Our office is very accessible. I have an amazing staff. And whether it's a local issue, a state issue, or a federal issue, we try to answer the questions and point you to the right direction. If it's something that our office doesn't do, we really try to point you, and instead of making you go call someone and be on hold forever, we really try to do the heavy lifting for our constituents. So that's it. It's a true honor, and happy to be here, and I appreciate Ron Taylor inviting me here. And so that's who I am.
Okay. So if reelected, what are your top 3 things that you hope to accomplish?
I am going to continue in the area of foster care, just because there's really so much need there. We've really focused as the aging out population. Something that I put in last year, I don't think it got in the budget, and that's for the DMV to help these kids that are aging out get their driver's license, because there are some, they can't afford it. Car insurance. So we're going to do some things in that area. Also, human trafficking. There's already a bill that I'm working on with the stakeholders for human trafficking. I really want to continue in that space. And military. I've got a couple military bills. I mean, I'm staying. I am a conservative vote, so I stand with the governor and with my conservative colleagues, so they can count on my conservative vote. But those are kind of my areas of passion and interest. So I'll stick with those, and then I'm open to, when people bring me legislation, I always consider carrying other things, like for Virginia Beach. I'll definitely carry some for them, because that's us. That's all about.
So, how do you feel about people who go to jail? They serve their time. They done what they were supposed to do. Now they're out, but now they have to pay $100,000 in restitution. What do you think about that?
Well, I feel like the whole, criminal justice system needs work. I'm really excited about, there's a guy, Secretary Eric Mueller. He's the chief transformation officer, and he's just completed a whole program to help people that have been incarcerated come out as far as getting their rights back, helping them with finding a job, helping them with, getting everything, getting housing. And I work really closely, and I didn't even know this. I don't know if y'all know, but Goodwill, we all know Goodwill is a place to go and find a great deal on used clothing. It's a great place to bring your old things. Well, Goodwill, one of their main objectives, and the president of the Goodwill in Richmond, he was saying that they've kind of lost their way over the years, but they're going back to this. And what their main priority is to help people find jobs that have barriers to employment. So it could be anything from autism or disability, but a big is the people that are coming out of jail. So I connected him with Eric Mueller and the transformation officer. And so they're working together to provide all these opportunities for people that have come out of jail, because they need a second chance. And I have a strong faith. I believe in second chances. So I think now we're really putting some good things in place to help people have that second chance.
Any questions? All right. Well,
by the way, can I tell you one more thing about Goodwill?
Go for it.
So Goodwill, you probably, when you're giving things away, you think, here's my Goodwill stack and here's my things I have to throw away. No, Goodwill wants everything. You do not need to throw anything away. Take it to Goodwill. They will, even if it's one shoe that has this sole torn off, still take it. They will take everything. So that's my little tip for the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, is that it? Nobody else?
Good evening. Hey, I'd just like to thank each and every one of you for coming out and participating.
The camera right there.
I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out and participating. Your opponents was all invited here. Whether they showed up or not, that's up to them. But they pick and choose which event they want to come to, because we are going to have another Caucus Connection somewhere. And they'll probably show up there or somewhere if they feel comfortable in their district or wherever. This is a little further to come from. A lot of them are going to show up at the Breakfast of Champions, because they want to know, they're going to try to do their little hobnobbing to find out, to try to get the inroads to get that endorsement. I think those who have bought tables, we still selling tables for the Breakfast of Champions. We honoring the Lieutenant Governor Winston Sears for being a trailblazer, the first person female of color to hold the office of Lieutenant Governor. Also, Dr. Manigault, who's doing, you may have seen her on Wavy TV 10 with the motorcycles at College Park Elementary. She is being honored for the work that she's doing in College Park. Also, Dr. Erica Powell, for the work that she's doing in Virginia Beach Public Schools. She lives in Portsmouth, and she also doing work over in Portsmouth, helping those kids there. Also, last week we honoring Pat King, former school board member of Chesapeake, and what the work she is doing. What she is doing is she has a nonprofit she started, and she is raising money for African Americans that want to attend EVMS to go to medical school, so they don't have to incur that doctor, education expense. So those are the 4 trailblazers this year that our board have elected to honor. This will be a great presentation. People like Keiko James, Kenny Alexandra, Dr. Harvey over at Hampton, and the list go on. Even Pharrell Williams' mother has been honored. The list goes on and on of people who we have honored. So I look forward to seeing you around on the circuit, especially if we have another Caucus Connection. Please come. Those of you who have joined tonight, see Miss Nina. She has a gift for you.
And people, if you weren't able to make it, you can still go to our website, HamptonRoseBlackCaucus.com, and you can join on there. And for today only, $25 after the day, because it shows up. Shows up when you log in, you do the thing, it'll show the date of when you've done it. So it has to be today. Because if you do it tomorrow, the date is going to show up because you're using your credit card. So please, today only, $25. After the day, $50. We also do businesses, $100. If you're a business and you join us, we advertise your business on our website. Well, not on our website, on all our social media. So that is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. So it benefits a business to join us because we will.
We're X now.
Okay, X, my bad. X.
And the other thing is that a lot of you, this is our podcast director and host. If you need to, we have doctors, book people, all kinds of people that come on and talk about. We have authors from all the way from Texas that come on our show to talk about their books and stuff. So you can come on and talk about your platform. She would advertise it for a week and let everybody know you're going to be there, and that's free advertisement for you. And you can come on and talk about your platform and why they should elect you.
And we also have advertising spots for our podcast. So if you want to advertise something before the show starts, you can do that too. That's $50. Before the podcast, we will broadcast whatever it is, as long as it's in good taste. I can't say anything, but we will broadcast your advertisement before the podcast, or $50. We will broadcast your advertisement on our social media. Just throwing that out there.
Yep, and also, this is the last thing, folks. I'm not going to tear you any longer. Miss Nina Francis is our vice president. Miss Audrey McDaniel, who's here, is our assistant treasurer. And Roger, who was here earlier, had to leave. He is our newsletter person. He takes care of our newsletter. Bill Curtis is our treasurer. Joel is our PR person. He's the one to take care of going out before the camera, because they always try to drag me before the camera. I said, nope. One of you guys, ladies, take it. Also, Frank is Frank Walton, who owns Walton Funeral Home over on Holland Road. He's like part of he's a board member, and his job is part of event coordinating. Also, Miss Fisher, Sharon Fisher, who's a realtor here in Virginia Beach, with her office over in Portsmouth. She is our event coordinator. She'll be coordinating everything for the Breakfast of Champions. She's good at it. And we have a professional singer from that will be singing, give us one of her rendition. She have did movies with Tyler Perry, Whoopi Goldberg, and also with Oprah Winfrey. She has did movies with her, so and she's a very good singer. So you'll have a chance to see her. So thank you all. Remember that these are archives, and so when people will go and you can say, what did you have to say? You can say, go to the Hampton Road Black Caucus website. It is archived. Thank each and every one of you. May God bless you in your bid for these office, and may heaven continue to smile upon you. Go in peace. Don't forget to get your gift.
Right, this is my cell number.
Pleasure meeting you, Dr. B.
So you were at the Parents Matter in the government. Yes. Okay. But you guys need to speak. No, just was there. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know the name of the face.
That way he dropped on him.
Just open my eyes to something, because you asked a question. And I was like, why are you talking about that? You just had like billions out there. So can you imagine what that would do to the system? I don't know, what does it come? That's a lot of money. No, I'm serious. Okay, thank you. You were going there. I didn't want to go there. Okay, this is separate. This is separate. Yeah.
So everybody, right, but I will say, so when Chip came over, they were the meeting, and we both middle, and the hospital, you're right.
They know the difference.
They
They know the difference.
they were like new people, because they weren't.
So my kids, she's from South Carolina to back to. So anyway, so they had South Carolina. Anyway,